To politics now. Nielsen reports some 25 million Americans tuned in to watch President Biden's high-stakes press conference last night. Tonight, the president is back on the campaign trail in Michigan. Gabe Gutierrez is there.
Tonight, President Biden in battleground Michigan, trying to turn the page after defending his fitness for office.
Hopefully, with a little bit of age comes a little bit of wisdom. I promise you, I'm okay.
The swing state crucial for his reelection. A new poll out today, conducted before last night's press conference, suggests the race is unchanged since the debate.
Cut the crap. Get behind this man like people are getting behind Trump. Okay? And bottom line.
Still, the debate performance has some Democrats here rattled.
Would you consider yourself a Biden supporter?
I was a Biden supporter right up until the debate. Now I really would like to see an open convention.
Deborah Lewis Langston said she'd now prefer to vote for Vice President Harris.
Biden being 81 years old, through no fault of his own, things just don't work like they used to work. And I'm 71, and I can tell you, they just don't.
Please be seated.
At that high-stakes press conference last night, the president drew praise for his command of foreign policy, but also criticism for this gaffe.
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
After former President Trump quickly mocked his opponent, swapping Vice President Harris's name for his, President Biden shot back. By the way, yes, I know the difference. One's a prosecutor and the other's a felon. Today, 2 weeks after the New York Times editorial board urged President Biden to leave the race, it published another essay, this one calling former President Trump unfit to lead, writing Mr. Trump has shown a character unworthy of the responsibility of the presidency. He has demonstrated an utter lack of respect for the Constitution, the rule of law, and the American people. The former president meeting yesterday at Mar-a-Lago with Hungary's authoritarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, just days after Orban met with Vladimir Putin, a contrast with President Biden, who at the same time was meeting with other world leaders at the NATO summit. For President Biden, Michigan is essentially must win. His campaign now acknowledges that winning the blue wall, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, is the clearest path to victory in November. We can't afford to lose much support here.
Gabe Gutierrez on the campaign trail tonight. Thanks. Today, Democrats on Capitol Hill sought reassurance from the president, but as Ryan Nobles reports, the mood in Congress remains very much unsettled.
New York Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the Democrats in the House of Representatives, today informing his colleagues that he met with President Biden following last night's press conference and, quote, directly express the full breadth of insight, heartfelt perspectives, and conclusions about the path forward. Jeffries did not say his caucus is all in on Biden as the party's nominee.
Should we read into that? Well, I think it's self-evident right now with almost 20 members have come out saying, I think we need a different nominee, that the caucus is not united.
Even more Democratic members have now called on Biden to end his campaign, despite his well-received press conference last night, including the ranking member on the powerful House Intelligence Committee, Jim Himes.
I'm asking us to step away from the love and the loyalty and just say that the numbers suggest that we're going to lose.
Defections from Biden growing, but as of yet, no mass exodus.
Joe Biden is focused on the future of this country. And I always say the best predictor of future performance is past behavior.
Congressman James Clyburn of South Carolina telling the Today Show's Craig Melvin that he still believes in Biden, but said if need be, Vice President Kamala Harris is up to the job.
Absolutely. No question about that. She has acquitted herself well in the job as vice president.
The current situation, a sort of purgatory for Democrats on the Hill. One members worry cannot fester for much longer.
I don't want to be biting my nails every time President Biden gets on the stage. That's the dynamic at work. We need to be shifting the attention to the other guy.
And Ryan, we have new reporting tonight that at least one House Democrat today told the president directly it was time to leave the race.
That's right, Lester. Sources tell us that in a call with House Democrats, Congressman Mike Levin of California confronted the president and said that the party needed new leadership. The president responded by promising to get out on the road and answer more tough questions as the campaign continues. Lester.
All right, Ryan Nobles, thank you. And join us Monday when I interview President Biden exclusively. The complete conversation airs starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Monday, as Savannah Guthrie and I lead our coverage for the start of the Republican convention. Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.